concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
No. All right. An error occurred. Yeah. Is it working now? Oh, you hear me now? That's weird. That was weird. Oh, now you hear me. Okay. Can't do it without the song, can we?
Where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, our secret thoroughfare. I don't wanna have to hide no more. It shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know. Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me. Do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know. Do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me. Do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know. Do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream, which has actually started now. I don't know what happened there. That was pretty weird. On my end, it looked like I was streaming. Apparently on your end, it didn't. But now we are all here. We are all here together. And we're going to, do that thing we do. We sit here for a couple hours and talk about FPV. Oh, tonight's drink. Got a new one. Got a new one for you guys, as usual. My friend who leaves seltzers at my house came to visit. We had a little get together for Easter, and left behind in my fridge. You're never gonna guess this one. Bud Light Seltzer Iced Tea Apple Flavor. What? First of all, who thought that first of all, drinking seltzer entirely, losers. Says the guy who drinks seltzers all the time, apparently. And second of all, carbonated iced tea? What? No. I don't know. It kind of works. It's better than, I'll tell you this. I'm dead serious when I say it's better than regular seltzers. I'm dead serious. It's better than like White Claw. Anyway. I knew you guys would love that, so I just wanted to share it with you. Thank you. Ah. Are you ready? Are you ready for this face? I need new friends. Yeah. Flying Sandal. I want to get this question before I forget it. What do you do if the screw head breaks off? What do you do if the screw head breaks off? No, it's not in there. Go figure. What do you do if the screw head breaks off the motor bell when trying to clean your motors? Dang, Hype Train Motors. What you do is you recognize that some manufacturers Loctite their screws. And then you use a soldering iron to heat the screw before you release it, before you tighten it, loosen it. I mean, I guess I sound a little condescending. So the problem is that there's no way to know beforehand whether there's Loctite on the screw. So it's a good practice. It's good practice that what you do, what I do, is I put the screwdriver in and I start to turn the screw. And if it feels like I'm about to rip the head off the screw, I stop. Like you feel the tension build and then you're like, oh, now it's moving, right? Like it shouldn't be enough tension that you're going to rip the head off the screw. And if you have to put like even a little bit of extra force, stop. You're going to rip the head off your screw. And this goes for anybody taking a motor bell off, not just Hype Train Motors. pardon me. All manufacturers should use Loctite, but some use permanent Loctite, which requires heating to release it. So what you do is you take a hot soldering iron, you touch it to the screw tip, and then you pinch the shaft in your... you pinch the motor shaft in your fingers, and when you feel the motor shaft start to get warm, then the screw is probably released, and then you can take it out without ripping the head off. Yeah. That was when the hype trains first came out, that was a common problem. People didn't know that. Now, apparently people still don't know that. So, there you go. But it's not that just, oh, they're shitty motors. It's just that they have Loctite on them, and not everybody does that. So, yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. I'm happy that you're here. I'm going to be taking your questions. Here are your questions right here. Right here are your questions. I will be reading your comments, taking your question. Is your Pinesil 64 still holding up, Kenny Kobe? It is, Kenny. But, I have heard some people say they weren't happy with the durability of their Pine 64. So, yeah, you're not the only one. I'll be taking your questions. If you want to make sure that I get your question, do like Hectactica did here. Hit the $sign down here and leave a super chat. And I will be reading those. Not just yet. A little later in the stream. I'll be reading those. So hope you'll be able to stick around. Hectactica, Midwest RC, Michael Carson. I'll be getting your messages. And I will also be enjoying the participation of these beautiful people on the right side of the screen. Who could not love all this animated goodness, right? These people are my patrons. They hang out in my Discord server, and they subscribe to me through the Patreon website. Thank you so much for doing that. They get half my screen during the live stream. So let's get some chats. Let's get some questions. Any news? Fitzflight wants to know is there any news about the DJI F3? No. Still, we cover the leaks. There haven't been any more leaks. We'll know when DJI tells us stuff or when somebody else leaks something. Israel Simmons. I can't resist a question about a first build. Just built my first 5-inch quad. I'm waiting for good weather to get my first real-life flight. I've flown many quads in liftoff. How accurate is liftoff to real life? Here's what I like to say about that, Israel. All of the sims are okay. Some are a little better than others, depending on what you like to fly and how you like your quads to fly. None of them are perfect, and none of them are going to fly exactly like your real quad. But if you think about it, if I hand you my quad, it's not going to fly exactly like your quad. There's always going to be differences in the weight, in the motor, in the prop. So all quads fly a little bit differently. And I feel like simulators are sort of within that margin of error, where the difference between a simulator and real life is about the same as the difference between like one quad and another quad. That may be stretching it just a little bit, but if you're competent at flying around in the simulator, you'll do okay in real life. But like, I wouldn't go so far as, let's say you're doing a move where the move relies on the exact movement of the quad. Like, let's say you're trying to do the move that Cricket FPV does, where he pitches back, drops, and then just through sheer, I don't know, Jedi mind powers, he knows when to hit the throttle and come back out of a gap. The timing on that drop is not going to be the same in the simulator as it is in real life, right? That kind of thing is not going to translate exactly. But a lot of stuff does translate. It's a great idea to learn to fly in the simulator before you dive in real life. And it's a great idea to work tricks out in the simulator before you try them in real life, just to get the stick movements. So... JGFPV wants to know if I have a video about how to set BLHeli startup tones. Yep, I sure do. It is right here. It's BLHeli 100% explained. BLHeli 32, 100% explained. That's an hour-long video. This is the one you want, though. How to install and music editor. This is how to do it. JG. Here is the video you're looking for. One of the key features of BLHeli 32 is the ability to play music, of course. Typhon GG, very glad to hear you got your flight controller working. After a little bit of help from me. Occasionally, I do make a difference. Where is Blunty? Hello, FPV. Blunty isn't here on my live stream nights. This is not this is Monday night, not Tuesday night. He'll be here on Tuesday. Apparently, Blunty's more popular than I am. I have to mental note. Fire Blunty. Got it. Almac FPV. FetTech Alpha team released BLHeli pass-through. Been flying it all weekend and loving it. You think you're going to make a video about it? That's the kind of thing, Almac, that I would probably cover in the news. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I would probably cover in the news. It's cool that that feature is finally available in Alpha as well as Ultra. Ultra's had it for a little while. Mad Nitro says, I want to get my kids in the air. What's the best 1S bind and fly or plug and fly quad for your kids? I'm gonna give a controversial answer here. I think, especially if you're like got young kids who want to learn, I think I would steer you towards the Beta FPV Cetus FPV kit. And the reason this is controversial is that Beta FPV has an extreme... Can I just... Oh, thanks. That's so much better. Beta FPV has an extremely tenuous relationship with quality control. They design good products, but then they manufacture them badly a lot of the time, some of the time, and it leaves their customers extremely disappointed. But the Cetus has, I don't know if it's sonar based or what. It has altitude control, so you can kind of drive it like a car. It's a lot easier. It has a throttle like a DJI drone, where you raise and lower the throttle to go up and down, but it holds altitude. And that's kind of cool. And I asked Drew. I said, Drew, are you selling the Beta FPV Cetus? Have you had a ton of returns with that? You know, are you getting a bunch of broken stuff? And he said, no, not really. So they're at least not DOA. And I think this should at least be in consideration because of that unique altitude hold feature. Now, the other one that I would point you towards is the Emax Easy Pilot RTF. Emax, much better quality in many ways than Beta FPV. And the Easy Pilot has a similar thing where it does kind of altitude control. So if you've got especially really young kids who want to learn to fly, these are two that you could consider. The new Tiny Hawk beginner kit. What is it? The Tiny Hawk what? What is it called? Yeah. Now it depends on your kids. If your kids are a little more competent, I would steer you towards something like a Mobula 6. It's going to have way more capabilities, but it's going to have that initial learning curve is going to be higher. The Tiny Hawk 3. The Tiny Hawk 3 also has the altitude hold. Does it really? Okay, how can we check that? I don't know how we're going to check that. I mean, that's a good kit, no doubt. Happy birthday, Kmart FPV. It has horizon mode. Well, everything has horizon mode. That doesn't mean anything. Alrighty. I'm not thinking the Emax Easy Pilot I talked about. Okay. And of course you can get them going on the simulator, which is where I would recommend everybody start, as I said. All right, let's do some of these super chats. Midwest RC, thank you for a $5 super chat. What are your thoughts on 4S versus 6S 5-inch freestyle quads? I think the jury is pretty much in on that one. Pretty much everybody has moved to 6S for 5-inch these days. You can still buy 4S. They're still out there, but pretty much everybody's moved to 6S. As far as performance goes, I think that 6S has only a small performance advantage, but it's just where everybody's at, and so it's a good place to be. I think the number one thing with 6S batteries is that you need to be more careful monitoring your voltage, because it's less obvious, in my experience, when a 6S battery is low. It's easier to just keep sort of hitting it and flying until it sags out and kills you. Whereas a 4S battery, I think you notice that sag more. But everybody's on 6S. 6S is where to be. Just be there. Thank you, Michael Carson, for a $2 super chat. Just a couple bucks to get started. Hectectica, thank you for a $5 super chat. Bidirectional D-shot doesn't work after a hard crash. If I run the motors from the Betaflight Motors tab or arming, they die after a few seconds. It doesn't do it with bidirectional D-shot off. Well, suffice it to say, you crashed and something broke, okay? So why bidirectional D-shot? I don't know. Like your ESC broke or your flight controller broke, and like something about bidirectional D-shot is pushing it over the edge, and something about having bidirectional D-shot off means it's like creeping through and still seems to work. I would bet you that what's happening is with bidirectional D-shot, each data packet is acknowledged essentially, and so the flight controller knows how many bad packets there are. And with bidirectional D-shot off, you're still getting bad data, I would bet. Like, I bet the ESC is still getting corrupted data, but you can kind of enough to fly is getting through. It could be your signal wires. Yeah. What I would do is when you run the motors from the Betaflight Motors tab, they die after a few seconds. What's your error percent, Hectectica? What's your error percent? Is it 0% or is it a high number? That's a good piece of information. J-Dub, thank you for a $20 super chat. Just want to say thanks for the years of help and ask if with the trend of lighter quads, are you still using a 51477? J-Dub, I still fly the 51477, even on the lighter quads. I ended up on 51477 when I was on heavier quads flying bigger motors. But I still like those 51477. They're still really good props. And they're a little harder to control at the low end than like a 51433 would be, like a larger, lower pitch prop. But every time I put a lower pitch prop on, I'm disappointed at how high in the throttle I have to be just to get off the ground. And so, yeah. Hectectica says error percent is less than 5% usually. That's a big problem, Hectectica. Error percent should be less than, well, error percent normally is 0%. If error percent is less than 1%, then it could be considered like normal and okay to fly. Error percent of 5% is a big problem. Something's messed up. If you have 5% errors on all of the motors, then, I mean, I guess I would start by checking the signal wires on the off chance that they got damaged in the crash. It feels like you've got a bad ESC or a bad flight controller. I would lean toward the ESC. FPV Ape wants to know, are the Vaz Ion and Antennenfreund a good pair of antennas for freestyle on HDO2 with TBS Fusion V2, Voxer Micro on the quad? On the other hand, can a damaged prop cause VTX noise? I'll take that second question first. A damaged prop can cause video noise by causing increased motor vibration, which is picked up by the gyro, and then injected back into the power system, which causes video noise. So yes, there's a relationship between the gyro and the motors and the PID loop and the electrical system of the quad, which means that a problem with the PID loop or a mechanical problem that causes extra vibration can result in additional electrical noise, which then makes your video worse. Absolutely. Regarding the antennas, any video aerial systems antenna is very good. I don't actually know what the Antennenfreund is. I don't think that's a thing. What's the Antennenfreund? I've never heard of that. The Vaz Ion's very, very good. I like it. It's one of my favorite goggle antennas. I don't think it's durable enough to run on the quad, but I think it's one of my favorite goggle antennas. Let's see here. Could the ESC processor have been damaged? I mean, anything could have been damaged. Who knows? Something was damaged. That's for damn sure. Antennenfreund is a German antenna builder. Okay, so it's not Video Aerial Systems. Oh, Antennenfreund.de. Interesting. I don't know this builder specifically. So most of the time these hand antenna builders are pretty good. You don't do this if you don't really care. But I have no personal experience with this, so I can't endorse it personally. So this style of antenna, just stop. This style of antenna, I don't think it's durable for FPV. It's a very good performing antenna, but this is just these cloverleaf wire leaves with no plastic shell or anything that's going to get destroyed. I mean, I don't know this antenna specifically, but like this style of antenna I wouldn't use. It's coated in some kind of coating, so cool, but they just get destroyed. You really need something more durable, like the TBS Triumph, the Luminaire Axia, the Foxeer Lollipop. You need something more durable. So that's my take. For like, you know, flying up in the air, maybe. But for any kind of stuff where you're going to be crashing, Freund. Antennen Freund. Freund? Oh, okay. Thank you, Ghost Bridge. Yeah, I would pass on these. Just because of the design. J-Dub, thank you for a $20 super chat. Thanks for all the years of help. Oh, we got you, J-Dub. And Charles Elliott, thanks for a $20 super chat. Giving me a pizza. Yes. Pizza. T418L wants to know, stubby antenna or regular antenna for the quad? I've used stubbies before. I wouldn't say I have a strong opinion. I've used stubbies before. They are super durable because they're tucked up and there's no leverage. A stubby antenna can be super durable. But the flip side is that you get worse range. That's just a trade-off of a stubby antenna because it's blocked by the frame more often or more easily. So I typically I would use a non-stubby. Now, most of the time what I'm using is just whatever came with my DJI video transmitter, which is usually not a stubby, but that's what I just use. But if I had to pick, I would pick a medium-sized antenna because I think they're still durable enough, and I would rather have the better coverage. Abra the Ham wants to know my thoughts on the Emax Nano antenna. He says, I switched to lollipops and didn't notice much difference. Well, that doesn't mean a lot. No offense. It's hard to measure an antenna's characteristics in a rigorous way by flying through an environment, which doesn't mean we don't try to do it. But I remember when the Emax Nano antenna came out, there was some heavy criticism of it, and I'm struggling to remember the exact nature of the criticism. Like, Alex Greaves said that it was not left or right hand polarized. I can't remember exactly what the criticism was. There was a criticism of the design of the antenna, that it wasn't what it was advertised to be. I don't have any personal experience with this antenna to say whether it's better or not. I do remember that Alex Greaves was pretty critical of it when it first came out. Some people would say that's just sour grapes by a competitor. But other people would say that Alex is a really smart guy, and if he has a criticism, then it should be paid attention to. Are we ever going to be able to find... what about Vaz? There's Nick Burns talking about it. No. Yeah. Well, that's all I know about it. Tom Eggman says, I run it on my Cinewhoop. It's fine. Well, that may be true, but it also may not be circular polarized, which is, if I had to guess, that's what I'm remembering the criticism was that it was actually linear, not circular polarized. In which case, it's going to be fine, but you are going to get worse range than you would if it was circular polarized. Raven says the worst antenna I ever tried. 50-50. Skyready RC, thank you so much for a $5 super chat. Working in Fusion while listening. Ooh, designing some 3D prints. TrueRC OCP are great small antennas. That's true. TrueRC and Video Aerial Systems basically only make good stuff. Different people saying yes or no, yes or no. RDL wants to know, can you do a video once and for all for different styles of throttle curves set in the radio? Because many people have different curves for different reasons. I don't like to use throttle curves. I am a strong proponent of linear throttles, so I probably would not rush to make that video. I'd be curious what styles of throttle curves there are. Like, the goal of a throttle curve is to give you more resolution, and where you need the resolution depends on what the problem you have with the standard throttle curve is. I probably wouldn't rush to make that video. DCamptel wants to know, DCamptel in the Discord wants to know, if you wanted to fly long range directly in front of you, could you put a patch on the quad? Yeah. Yep. You sure could. But as soon as you turn around to come home, you're in trouble. So you would need 2 patches, one on the front, one on the back, right? And diversity. I don't know. Kenny Kobe, you want to know the standoff height of the JB frame? I think it's 22 millimeters at the flight controller. Pretty sure it's 22. I guess I should look. Here we go. There we go. Since he bought my frame, the least I can do is try to get him a straight answer to his question. 20. Oh, we need to use the outer. Dang it. So hard to be left-handed. Oh, interesting. Is that right? 20 mil, 19.8. Doesn't seem right. I swear it was at least. Is it the same here? It is. Well, it's a good thing I measured. It's 20 millimeters. 20 millimeter height inside. That's like the length of the standoff. Inside the plates, 20 millimeters. There you go. Good thing I measured. G Nice thinks I need 6-inch arms for my frame. That's an interesting idea. That's interesting. Do they not? Can you not get 6-inch arms for the QAVS? I would. Oh yeah, here you go. You can use the Johnny FPV arms. You could 100% use the Johnny FPV arms on my frame. So if you want to build a JB QAVS with 6-inch arms, just buy yourself a set of the Johnny arms. At night, it's so painful. I don't know how they try. I mean, like, bless them. They're running their business. I don't want to sound like I'm throwing shade at the people who make my frame, right? So I should just shut up, but I won't. $9 for a single arm. So you'll pay $40 for a set of spare arms, but you'll pay $65 for the whole frame. How does that math work? I don't understand how that math works. I literally do not understand. Meanwhile, right this minute, someone at Get FPV woke up from a dead sleep and was like, I need to call Bardwell right now. He's bad-mouthing us on a live stream. I don't get it. QAVS replacement arms, $14 for a set of 2. That's $7 a piece. So $28 for a set of replacement arms. Okay, that's a little. I mean, I'm gonna guess that there's more overhead with selling one arm compared to selling a whole frame. I guess. I really don't know though. It seems really painful that you would pay more than half the price of the whole frame just to get a set of spare arms. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. Does that actually make sense? Like, look at the amount of carbon. Maybe that makes sense. No. The plates are... Oh! Is there Wait. Hang on. Is that the same arm? It is. Okay, thank God. It's the same arm. Okay. I saw the... Yesterday I was complaining about that quad never flew right, and I couldn't figure out why. And someone helpfully said, hey, oh, you checked to see if the arms are cracked? And I was like, of course I have. And then I checked them on stream, and sure enough, one of the arms were cracked. And I just noticed another crack on the bottom of the arm, and it was the same arm. So it's all good. I gotta replace that arm. Okay. I mean, when I look at the amount of actual carbon in the frame, when you think about there are 4 arms, like, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that when you... So when you're pricing carbon fiber... Damn it. When you're pricing carbon fiber, there are at least 2 major considerations. One is, how much of the carbon fiber sheet am I going to lose to cut out this piece? Okay? So the actual surface area of the piece is not so important as the shape of the piece. And if, like, because I have some weird shaped piece, I have to line them up and I lose a huge chunk of my carbon fiber sheet to cut your weird piece, then it'll cost more. So you can end up with pieces that are very small, but expensive because you can't sort of stack them. Like when we were going to, we were originally going to sell the QAVS frame with these arms. And these arms have additional horns here on the end to help protect the motors. And they said, because of those horns, we're actually losing a bunch of space on the carbon fiber sheet. We can't tuck the arms as close to each other as we can when they don't have horns. And it actually would end up being, like, I think it was $5 more per frame just to put those 2 little tiny things on there. So that's one of the things that... So when you look at these arms and you ask, are those half the price of the frame? Well, maybe. Maybe. The other thing with cutting carbon fiber is the time it takes to cut the piece. So if you have a piece that doesn't take a lot of carbon fiber, but it's really slow to cut, then you can't make very many of them in the same amount of time, and it gets to be more expensive. So, there you go. Maybe, I mean, but the thing is, lots of companies sell replacement arms for $5 or $6. So I feel like $9 is, it feels wrong, even if it's justifiable. It just feels wrong. Evan Wynn, I believe they cut the arms out of a separate sheet from the... Hang on, I'm going to see if I can find this picture for you guys. I don't know if I'll be able to find this in a reasonable amount of time. And I may give up. But I am going to see. You guys will think this is really interesting, so I'm going to give it a try. Can I... Oh, it's not keeping the history. What about media? Oh, there we go. Keep scrolling, baby. We'll get there. I'm going to scroll right past it and not even see it. Oh, there's when I made my motor with them. That's got to be after that. All right, I'm almost done wasting time on this fool's errand. Yeah. I can't find it. I had a picture of how the arms were laid out. And I'm not finding it. I thought you would think it was interesting, but oh, I bet it's in a group chat. Oh well. All right, I give up. Okay. Ricardo Ferreira wants to know, is your YouTube channel growing or shrinking? It is, well, that depends on how you define growing or shrinking, Ricardo. Some people would say that if you have a positive subscriber count, then your channel is growing. Other people would say that if last month you had 4,000 subscribers per month and this month you had 2,000, then your channel is shrinking because it's growing slower. And that a channel that is growing slowly is bad. Let's see. Analytics. Now, I'm not just going to put my raw. I'm going to carefully tailor these analytics because I don't want to. I want to choose what I do and don't reveal about my channel. Because, you know, F you, that's why. Let's see if how I can make this work. How about last 365 days? And let's see. Total views? Total subscribers? Views by video? How about subscribers? Well, that's pretty static. Well, that's not too bad. Daily, let's do a weekly average just to smooth it a little. And 365 days, let's go a little further. Let's do 4/18/2019. I know you guys can't see anything yet. That's because I'm going to make the graph and then I'm going to show you the graph. I don't want to show you all of my raw analytics. I just don't want to do that. So, is your channel growing or shrinking? Well, here's one way to answer that question. I really haven't looked at, I'm just now looked at this very minute. Subscribers. On a weekly basis, going back to 2019, so 3 years. 2020, there was a big spike around spring of 2020. It was some of the most traffic I've ever seen on my channel, and emails and messages spiked. I think what happened is a whole lot of people had a whole lot of time off work and got a stimulus check and decided to get into FPV. So I'm not at all surprised to see that around the April 2020 timeframe there was a peak. I'd have to go look at my videos to see what big video popped in 2021. Was that the Quarter Crew collaboration? I'm not sure. And right now in 2022, we're definitely down. I think this pop was the Quarter Crew collab where I worked with Ren from Quarter Crew on a FPV Nerf drone. But there you go. It could be that, was that the DJI FPV drone? That would mean this was the Nerf drone and this was the DJI FPV drone. That makes sense actually. So it's hard to say. It's definitely lower than it has been in the past. Hang on, let's see. Just real quick. What if we go back to 2017? What does it look like? Here. So here's 2017. Man, that was a big pop too. So there was around the 2019 to 2020 time frame, there was a big jump. And then it settled down. And it does, it's hard to say. I think it looks like it settled to a little bit lower level than it was like in 2018 and 2017. But given how expensive everything is now and how hard to get things is, I think that it's pretty reasonable. Now that's subscribers. Let's just take 1 second and let me change it to views. Want views? Yeah, let's do video views. Let's do video views in addition to subscribers, and then we'll move on. So here's video views over that same time period. Video views are way up. Isn't that interesting? Sub count is down. I mean, the subs per month. My sub count has never gone down. But the number of subs per month is not as high as it ever has been. But video views are actually looking pretty good, honestly. So there you go. I would say my channel is growing, but not accelerating. That's what I would say. There you go. And I put a lot of thought into what it would take to you know, push it to like another level. And unfortunately, what it seems like it would take is branching out into other content, like wings. And I don't want to do that. I'm just not that interested. Maybe I should be. Athix, I don't use Social Blade. I have my own analytics. I use Social Blade sometimes to research other channels, but Social Blade is not like the most accurate. I mean, it's better than nothing. Ghost Branch, I don't think my collab helped Quarter Crew very much. I would say I don't think so. And somehow my social stream plugin has stopped working. That sucks. How will I be able to put hello? Yeah, it's just stopped working. Great, cool. Do you notice any seasonality to views or subs? I don't. It's probably there, but I don't notice. Oh, Nick Hayes says, you got too big anyway. Oh, I'm searching. That's why. Derp. Nick Hayes says, where's his chat? I don't see his chat. You remember the days when you knew us all, when we felt loved? I do. I remember when I replied to every single one of my YouTube comments. I was a point of pride. And then, you know, eventually you just can't do that anymore because there are too many of them. So, there you go. Philly Style FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Philly Style. I built a 3-inch naked VistaPic, 1303, 5000 kV, getting shaky video at 80% throttle and above. Everything is mounted securely. It's not the props. Philly Style, normally I would tell you that you should compare the HD camera to the FPV camera to see if your camera mounting is a problem. I would, the first thing I would want to figure out is if it's a camera problem or if it's a PID problem. And that's going to be a little tough. Do the motors, what do the motors sound like, for example? Do the motors sound smooth? Or do they sound shaky? You can't even really look at black box to figure this one out, because if the camera is loose and shaking, then it'll make the PID controller freak out. Um, 5,000 kV on 3S? That seems... Does 5,000 kV on 3S seem right to you guys? Like Ciati gave me a rule of thumb once upon a time, which was 2S, 10,000 kV on 2-inch props. So that would mean 3S, 7,500 kV on 2-inch props. So he's 3S, 5,000 kV on 3-inch props. That seems about right. I take it back. That's about right. Just had to work my way around to it. Ciati's rules of thumb are prolific. Ciati, you got a rule of thumb for 3-inch props? 5,000 kV, 3S, 3-inch props? Yeah. So it's not the kV. I mean, it's either the canopy is like loose or weak and the camera is shaking, or maybe there's a cracked arm or some problem with the frame. Being a DJI camera, I wouldn't suspect a loose sensor inside the camera, but I would always sort of have that in the back of my head as a possibility. What do you think you should do, Ciati? Just rely on the intelligence of other people. Hey, anybody want to take a trip back to 2016? This is... Oh, kids these days don't know. Kids these days don't know how bad we had it. I see so much here. Like, for example, are these bullet connectors? Or are they just, that's your solder joints. I don't think those are bullets, but they could be. These terrible props that exploded at the drop of a hat. Mounting. Oh, we thought we were so cool when we started mounting our antennas this way. Turns out we didn't have 3D printers. I mean, some people did, but 3D printing hadn't really entered FPV at this time. And the battery would come loose and just shear that SMA connector right off. Those are bullet connectors. Okay, he confirms it. Look at this teeny little battery. Now he does have a battery pad. That's nice. That was pretty unusual. No up tilt on the camera plate. And a vibration isolated camera plate. No up tilt on the camera. Jeez. Oh my God. And this was hot shit too. This was hot shit. Yeah. This was hot shit. Good stuff. This is what it looked like when you were done flying. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at this. Look at this video transmitter. Oh, video transmit. No smart audio. We didn't have smart audio. Video transmitter. You're flipping dip switches to change channels. Oh. And look at all these electronics on this. Oh, no, that's not part of it. Is that a frame plate? I can't tell. Oh, my God. No up tilt on the camera. Gosh, no. Why would you do that? Oh, man. Bringing back memories. That's not even when I started. I started before that even. Anyway. Yeah, we didn't have 3D printers. I had a literal block of wood that I made for my camera mount. I literally just went out and I cut a block of wood for a camera mount, for a GoPro camera mount. Well, not GoPro, Mobius camera mount. Good stuff. Gigantic ESCs mounted inside the frame. Look at these 12 amp ESCs mounted. Look at these servo plugs. Servo plugs. No, don't direct solder your wires. Why would you do that? We're going to use servo plugs to drive our motors. Oh my God. We have it so good. We have it so good these days. RDoc, thank you for a $5 super chat. I had an ESC burn up on the first plug-in of the day, but it was like the 5th day I took it out to fly. Any idea why? RDoc, this mystery is never going to be solved, probably. Like, it could have just been it's time to go. There's always a voltage, there's like a voltage spike when you first plug in, and that's why ESCs often pop on first plug-in. But you're never going to figure out why. It's not like you landed in some grass and the water dew shorted it out because it was the first plug of the day. It's just it was its time to go and it went. Maybe it was damaged in a crash. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. There's no surefire way to know the answer. Matty O, RCFPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Nazgul Evoke right rear motor is twitching when armed, then the ESC sounds when I disarm. You got a bad ESC, probably. You got to contact iFlight support and see if they think it's something that should be covered by them. That's the bottom line. Mudkips, thank you for a $10 super chat. Mudkips says, "Bro, they didn't let me comment." Mudkips, I don't know if this is a user error situation here, but what you got to do? Oh, wrong window. You hit the $sign. You click super chat, and then before you buy and send, you type your message, and then you hit buy and send. So, anyway, what's your question? I am listening. What are the telltale signs an ESC is going to die? Asks Kenny Kobe. It has Racer Star on the label. Oh, he's hot. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not always easy to predict when an ESC is going to die. Because usually they work fine right up until they die. I actually don't think it's very easy to predict when an ESC is going to die. Mudkips, are you going to do the Banggood build? What's the Banggood build? Is there a specific Banggood build? Or is it just, what are we referring to here? I shouldn't have picked on Racer Star. I should have picked on Eachine Wizard. The Eachine Wizard has the worst ESCs in all of FPV. I picked on Racer Star because sometimes Racer Star stuff is solid. Banggood or Banggood? Banggood? I did one. Didn't I? I think I built one of those. Did I build it? Or did I just... I can't remember if I did a build or if I just reviewed the frame. Well, this doesn't look like a build. Is it a build? No. Well, it's not a full build, that's for damn sure. Ooh, I was experimenting with a third camera. Look at that. Uh-huh. Yeah. Look at that lighting. So atmospheric. Look, see? I was experimenting with a third camera. What do you think? Think I need another camera? Oh, look, there's the fully built quad right over there. Did I build it? I don't think I built it. No, I guess I never built one. No. No. I mean, I'm not gonna. I've kind of moved on from that frame right now. It was a little too heavy for me. Then they released the Banggood Light, so maybe that's better. But no, I've moved on. Ricardo Ferreira wants to know: are single ESCs and PDBs worth it? No. In my opinion, no. Unless you're going like, if you're building if your ESC, if your individual ESC costs $20 or less, then just go with a 4-in-1. But there are some ESCs like the Beast class ESCs, cinelifter ESCs, you know, 8S, 12S, 80 amp, 120 amp, and they cost $100 a piece. Then, you know, you often can't find a 4-in-1, but you would want an individual one. So 4-in-1 for pretty much everything these days. Dingles wants to know: do you think motor plugs instead of soldering on a micro affects performance much at all? I'm thinking of getting a couple of tiny trainers. They carry that Beta FPV AIO with plugs. Dingles, if we're talking about something like a 5-inch with MT30 connectors or bullet connectors, but MT30 connectors is what people are using these days, I don't think there's meaningful performance loss. The reason people moved away from bullet connectors was, in my opinion, that it was a pain in the ass to have to solder on all those connectors. And you might as well just, direct solder the motor to the ESC. Everybody talks about the weight. I don't think it was the weight. Yes, you save a little bit of weight. I think it was a pain in the ass to solder on all those connectors. And so now we have 533 selling motors with connectors pre-soldered. Oh, okay. Well, at that point, you still have extra joints to solder because you have to solder on the ESC and the plug. But, okay. And if somebody sold, like Rotor Riot has their solderless build kit, where both the ESC and the motors come with pre-soldered connectors, I'm all in. I wish everybody did this. Now, they're not going to do it because you don't know the right length of wire for every build. So if they sold the ESCs with connectors pre-installed and the motors with connectors pre-installed, it would be too short of a wire and it wouldn't work for your build, and then people wouldn't like it. So if you could promise me that you would always give me the right length of wire, I would buy ESCs and motors with MT30 connectors pre-installed all day and just plug them in and get on with my life. I'd be a happy camper. I don't think there's really any meaningful disadvantage. It's slightly heavier. I guarantee you it doesn't matter. So what about with micros, though? So with micros, it can matter. And you see this most often with tiny whoops, where someone will have like an Emax. I know that's not a tiny whoop, like an Emax Tiny Hawk or a Mobula 6, and it'll have plugs on the connectors, and they'll be getting bad performance, lack of power. And somebody will say, have you tried direct soldering your motor wires? And sure enough, boom, suddenly the life is back in it. So those tiny little plugs that are used on micros, like whoops and stuff, can go bad, can have issues with excess resistance, and can cause performance loss. So you just bought the tiny trainer with the Beta FPV with the pre-soldered motors. I bet you'd notice a difference. Well, this may be too strong. I bet you that there'd be a difference, like a detectable difference, by direct soldering versus using the plugs. Because that Beta FPV flight controller, I mean, it just has the same little tiny plugs on it that they use on Tiny Whoops, does it? And so, especially on a tiny trainer where you're pulling a fair amount of current, I mean, if I were to build one, I would probably just plug the motors in because I'm a lazy SOB. And I probably would not be able to bring myself to cut the connectors off in direct solder. I would at least try it with the plugs. But if you're a racer who's trying to race tiny trainers and you're concerned about like the most power, I bet you'd get better results by direct soldering than by using plugs. Johnny 5 wants to know if I'm going to be racing the GQ this year. My competition with Quad Doc, Evan Turner's dad, is always a highlight. Although he has gotten so much faster than me because he just sits at home all day and races. He learned from his son. He learned from Evan Turner. You put in the stick time, you get faster. He's pretty fast. I think like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I can't remember the last time. I can't remember when it was. 2 or 3 years ago, Kevin Turner and me were neck and neck in the GQ. And then last year, I couldn't beat him. I can't remember what happened. I mean, I was happy with my times, but he was consistently faster than me. So, it's fun though. Mike Bergman says that'd be a killer real-life test, getting lap times with and without plugs. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Gem Fan Hobby is back. Nice to see you, Gem Fan. There's a debate going on in the chat over whether the Diatone Roma F5 or the Nazgul Evoke, the iFlight Evoke. Is it Nazgul Evoke or just iFlight Evoke? The iFlight Evoke is better. To me, the advantage of the Diatone Roma is that it has 30 millimeter electronics, which I believe are going to be more durable. The Evoke has 20 millimeter electronics, and I have to be honest and say that I haven't blown mine yet, which says a lot. So maybe they cracked the code and figured out how to make a durable 20 millimeter ESC. The big advantage of the Evoke, in my opinion, is the cosmetics. It has a very nice LED system. It has a great little way of connecting the XT60, so it keeps the wire. It's just a really well thought out quad. And it flies really good. The Diatone also flies well, but like the Evoke really impressed me with how it flew. Between the two, I want to say the Roma, because I want to look at the Evoke and go, I don't need those LED side plates. I just want to, but I really like the way the Evoke flies. I probably would take the Evoke. I'm testing the Gepar C Mark V. I was actually just recording my review of the Gepar C Mark V before the live stream. So. I don't know if I could, Brian Cartwright says, JB, get back on the sim and practice. You got this. You could be winning. I don't know about that. I worked really hard last year. I could have worked harder, to be fair. I could have worked harder. I won't say that I worked as hard as I possibly could. But I worked pretty hard, and I hit a wall. And the takeaway for me was that I had already gotten all the easy gains. And now I was in the sort of the long tail, and I needed like a lot more stick time to get better at the GQ. Like I wasn't like I would say this lap I'm really gonna push it, and I wouldn't get any faster. And I'd say okay, I'm gonna lay back on the throttle and try and race clean, and I wouldn't get any faster. And I was like, okay, I don't know what the heck I'm doing then. So I just didn't get faster. And I was like, okay, what I really need to get faster is 10 more hours of stick time. And I was just like, well, is that really how I'm going to spend 10 hours of my life trying to shave a half a second or a second off my GQ time? For Doc still to be faster than me. Yeah, he may be faster, but I have more subs. So, there's that. Mad Max FPV says racing's a young man's game. Yeah, but Doc is my age. That's why it's so unfair. Did anybody figure out why Philly style FPV had a problem with his Vista pick? Okay, let's move on. McConnell Studios, thank you for a $10 super chat. In BLHeli, flashing ESCs up to 32.9 on a new build, which reads and writes fine at 32.8, getting server connection error at any flash attempt. McConnell Studios, BLHeli 32 always tries to phone home because it has DR, digital rights management, to make sure that your ESCs are licensed. And that means you have a network problem or it can't connect to the server. So it's got nothing to do with your ESCs. It's your computer and your network connection. You could always try to reinstall, like download and reinstall 32.9. If there was a problem with your SSL library or something, I would delete the 32.9 folder, reinstall it to a new folder, and make sure you have network connectivity. Raven187 says the new Min-Chan Kim video is fire. Yeah, shocker. It's Min-Chan Kim. Should we look at it? Let's see here. Practice for Ice Storm race. That's his latest video, so that must be it. We're not going to have audio. We're just going to have video. Let's see. Is it? It's pretty fast. I mean, at a certain point, do you just get a little bit jaded and you're like, okay, there's Min-Chan Kim being inhumanly fast? Like, do you ever look at him and go, wow, now that was a really fast lap? Or are you just like, I can't keep up with this. It's all going through my brain faster than it can even. Like, is Min-Chan Kim able to get any faster? That's what I want to know. Has he plateaued? I mean, he's plateaued at a really high level. Is there any... Like, how could he be any faster? Like, look at his throttle percent up in the upper right. Why does his throttle say CAC when he goes to 100%? How has he done that? Do you see that? When he goes to 100%, his throttle says CAC. Is that right? I'm confused as to how he could get any faster, to be honest with you. Jordan M., this is real time. That's just how fast he is. Apparently, he has a custom hex file to say CAC at full throttle. That's really funny, actually. I just don't see how the... So the only thing he could do would be to have a faster quad, because his lines just don't get any tighter. Anyway. There we go. That's Min Chan for you, baby. It's ludicrously fast. Russell Myers, thank you for a $5 super chat. Russell says, I remember my first quad back in 2014. Fell out of the hobby in the last few years, but just bought a baby ape, just like I'm back on a bike. That's awesome. Baby ape's a pretty good little quad, too. Let's see here. What else do we have? Sith Opkin FPV says Vanny has competition now. Does he? Like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but when Min Chan won the Costa Rica race, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did he have the Iron Man? I'd have to go back. I can't remember. I feel like he was pretty dominant in the Costa Rica race. I think right now, I'm not sure there's anybody in the world who could confidently beat him. No, I don't think that's controversial at all. I think anybody, a Vanover or an Evan Turner, anybody, no matter how good they are, going up against Min Chan, has to struggle to beat him. But I'm not sure. I don't know. He's pretty dominant. I guess is what I'm saying. Ciotti thinks Evan is the only one with a chance to beat him. I don't know. BMS Thomas and Min Chan Kim have had some very close races. Yeah, but who won? Like, I think there's guys out there who are very close. And on a good day or a bad day, they might win. But it feels like he's out there. Laws FPV, I don't think Evan's a second slower than him. I mean, it depends on the race, but I think the odds are usually on him. Johnny Five says, Min Chan Kim had Iron Man in Costa Rica against Evan, Amari, Jake Hammer, Noikel, Fidical. He had Iron Man. Against them. To have Iron Man against Evan Turner is saying a lot. Anyway. And here's the funny part, and I thought about this when Min Chan and all the other guys going to Costa Rica came to my house and raced at my house. I thought about this, and like let's say that for the sake of argument, Min Chan Kim is the fastest drone racer in the world. No one in the world knows who the hell he is, except us. He's just this Asian dude with this extraordinary skill. Kakimax, Iron Man, and Sestron. Iron Man is in multi-GP. Johnny Five should explain it. He'll do it right. Iron Man means that you haven't lost a single heat. If you haven't lost a single heat, then going into finals, you only have to win one time or something like that. But the bottom line is, in a race, Iron Man means that going into finals, you haven't lost a single heat. So if you're doing, normally they'll do double elimination, which means if you have to lose 2 times to get knocked out. But if the leader hasn't lost a single time going into the finals, that's called Iron Man. Yeah. There you go. Stick time, baby. That's why he's so good. Stick time. So what that means is that through all of the heats, John, do you remember how many heats there were going before finals? Through all of the heats, he didn't lose once. Not once. That's saying a lot. He didn't even get second place. We're not even talking about getting knocked out. Because, like, if there's 4 pilots in a heat, then, like, the top 2 go to the winner's bracket and the bottom 2 go to the loser's bracket. So you could get second place, still be in the winner's bracket, but not have Iron Man. Is that right, John? Tell me if that's wrong. I think that's right. And John says it was a 16-man bracket, so there would have been 6 or 8 heats. Yes, Scott Morgan, that is correct. If you get second place in a heat, you lose Iron Man, but you're still in the winner's bracket. So that doesn't count as one of your losses. Which means he raced 6 or 8 times and got first place every time. I mean, just to hang up your hat at that point, right? He's the fastest. Okay. All right. Good discussion. On the other hand, I went to breakfast at IHOP with my kid this morning, and a complete stranger who I've never met before walked up to me and said, "Hey, I'm so and so. I don't want to interrupt your meal. I just want to let you know I watch your content on YouTube. I have this company. We do commercial drone stuff. I really like what you do, and I took care of your breakfast. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot." So somebody knows who I am. One guy who saw me at IHOP. How do you like that? Michael M., you do not have to super chat to ask questions. However, if you want to obligate me to read your question, then you have to super chat. Otherwise, it's up to me. Ironically, Michael, now I'm looking for your question, Michael. AGO1 gimbals versus stock TX16S, says Sam Perez. AGO1 all the way, it's just a question of money, right, Sam? They're better. They're just better. They're nicer. But they cost money. B-Man FPV points out that Vanny's rolling with Michael Bay these days. That's right. Hey, Min Shan Kim, how many Jake Gyllenhaals have you met? Uh-huh. Vanny's going to go be a Hollywood star. It's pretty freaking cool. What's the main benefit of the AGO1 gimbals? They're made almost completely out of CNC'd metal, so they're more precise, more consistent. They're heavier. They make the radio literally be heavier. It feels more solid, but they're just sort of smoother and more consistent, better recentering, etc., etc. McConnell Studios, problem solved. Oh, he fixed the problem. Awesome. Thank you for a $5 super chat, McConnell Studios. Michael M. Still don't see your question. There we go. What's the best? We got Michael M. here. What's the best route to take with drones? I want to stick to using the DJI goggles. We'll upgrade the controller if needed. I mean, you can use the DJI controller. That's no problem. A lot of people use it and like it. What's the best route to take? It's hard to say, Michael. I don't know what you have now, and I don't know what you're interested in doing. So, what do you got now, Michael? And what are you interested in doing? Scroll up. Did he say? I did scroll up. Oh, you're behind. Michael says, I am a photographer, videographer. I'm learning to fly FPV. I have a DJI Air 2S and a DJI FPV, hundreds of hours, but I'm wanting to fly normal FPV to be able to put full frame cams on and so forth. Okay, so Michael, anything that would fly like a full frame DSLR is not appropriate for you to start with. It's too expensive, it's too dangerous, and it's too much risk. What I would suggest you do, if you have experience flying the DJI FPV in manual mode, then you are okay to switch to a 5-inch freestyle quad. There's still going to be a learning curve, but you will probably be able to fly a 5-inch freestyle quad without just instantly destroying it if you can fly the DJI FPV in manual mode. Okay? Now, bear in mind that you will not have the DJI FPV's safety switch where it sort of auto levels, hovers, and locks itself up. You'll need to fly it, so you'll need to be careful. But I would start with a 5-inch freestyle quad with a GoPro, and I would start getting the kind of shots that you will want to get with a full frame camera on a big cinelifter, using that, and start learning about how that all goes wrong. And then you'll have I don't know how long I would tell somebody to wait to fly a cinelifter with like a full frame DSLR on it if they had never flown an acro quad before. Because I mean, you fly, so you have some sense of like, don't crash into things, but you have no experience doing like, well, if you fly the DJI FPV, then you probably do have some experience doing like tracking and so forth. Yeah. I would start with a 5-inch with a GoPro, though. I wouldn't go straight to like a cinelifter. When you get to a cinelifter, the stakes are so much higher. The drone itself is between, say, $2,000 and $5,000 or more. The camera is, best case, you've got like a DSLR, which is a few $1,000s, a red Komodo, which is $5,000-ish or more. So when you're flying a cinelifter, at a minimum, you're flying $4,000 minimum and up. Let's say $4,000 to $10,000. And it's not like a 5-inch where if you crash, you're like, oh, okay, I just change a prop. Once they crash, it's total in a lot. Well, maybe total is too strong a word, but it's bad. You're every time you crash one of those guys, minimum $200. Okay? So you really want to know that you're not going to crash it and you're going to be fully in control of it all the time. And if you're not, then you just don't do it. That's just not in your repertoire. So like, I think if I would throw out a time frame of like a year. If you have a lot of experience with DJI and you've flown the DJI FPV drone, I would give you a time frame of like a year on like a 5-inch quad or a 6-inch quad with a GoPro, learning the ins and outs of Betaflight, learning the ins and outs of that style of quad, and learning all the ways that you're going to fail and not see it coming before you start flying an actual cinelifter. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a minimum. Like right now, I know a lot about flying 5-inch quads. And I flew a Beast class, right? And I felt reasonably confident flying the Beast class. It was still terrifying, but I felt confident because at the end of the day, it was the same aircraft that I had been flying, only bigger. But I didn't do unfamiliar things with it. When I flew the Beast class, I flew it like a 5-inch. I did freestyle with it. If you ask me to fly under a car while while it's jumping, or to track sideways with it, now things are changing and I need to really think about it, and it would be different. But if you have no experience with Betaflight and acro quads, then you need to get good at that before you start thinking about the bigger quads. Good question. Thank you for that question. Mark Winkelhofer asks, DJI Air Unit keeps black screening at short range on all my quads. 25 meg works fine, but 50 meg doesn't. If it's happening on all your quads, that means it's got something to do with your goggles. I hate to say it, I would contact DJI and see if they think your goggles need to be repaired. I don't know why black screen is pretty weird. I have never heard of black screen only at 50 megabits per second. That's not a known thing that I've heard of before. So it feels like you might have damaged goggles in some way. I don't know what kind of damage. Like, update the firmware on all of them? I don't know. That's not, I can tell you that's not a known issue, though. And I don't have a solid, like, oh, yeah, here's what to do answer. Wes Magyar, oh, damn, he's got more. I already replaced my goggles. Oh, well, now I'm really stumped. Like, it can't be, if it's happening on all your quads, it can't be, like, a problem with the Air Unit. But it can't be the goggles if you replace the goggles. Are you on the latest firmware for all of them? Could it be a firmware issue? Wes Magyar wants to know, if you have GPS rescue set up in Betaflight, can you use it like an oh shit button on the DJI FPV? No. So first of all, the DJI panic button locks out the controls, levels the quad, and activates position hold. So that's not the same as what GPS rescue does. GPS rescue tries to fly up to a given altitude and then fly home. And as soon as it does that, if you're underneath something, it'll just crash into the ceiling. So no, you couldn't. You couldn't use it that way. AF Killa wants to know what brand hard drive you use to store footage, etc. On my main machine, it's Samsung Evo SSDs. And then I have a Dropbox backup for stuff. I had a RAID array, an external RAID enclosure, which had some, I think they were Seagate, 3 terabyte. I don't know, but don't take my advice. I don't have a ton of research into what hard drive is the best. Mark Winkelhofer says, I'm in Europe running FCC mode. Could that be the issue? Mark, a lot of people do that, and I haven't heard of this issue before, so maybe, but no, I don't think so. Because, like, you're still using the same frequency band that's legal. You're just using it at a higher output power. And so I don't see why that would cause that problem to happen. Let's see here. How do I change gyros in Betaflight with a dual gyro flight controller? By default, it should use both gyros. Aced at FPV. The way you make that change, thank you, thanks for that. The way you make that change is here in the configuration tab, in the board and sensor alignment section, where it says gyro axle, and this is a single gyro board, so it only says first, but you can say both first or second, and that's where you would change that. Geet Sahu wants to know. I'm using an SRXL receiver, but there's no stick input on Betaflight. The number one thing that causes this is that SRXL and SRXL2 receivers need to go to a UART TX pad on the flight controller. Most receivers go to an RX pad, but SRXL and SRXL2 are different. That's the number one mistake that you might have made. That's my guess. Get some sleep, Ghost Branch. Thank you for coming out. Now that he's gone, let's talk bad about the Germans. No, I'm joking. Rocketman asks, do I need to flash my new FreeSky RXSR? No. Using the Radiomaster TX16S, do I use S-Bus? With the Radiomaster TX16S, use protocol FreeSky, sub-protocol D16, and it should bind. Severan... How am I going to read this? Severiano Martinez says, I flew my quad and I broke the connector and the pins that would connect to it. Do you think it would be worth it to fix it? I mean, it depends on what you broke. Many flight controllers will have solder pads that are duplicates of the pins, in which case you could just solder on. You don't need to repair it. I don't know how you would repair the connector and the pins. The RXSR is not shipping with Access firmware DC. Only the Archer series ship with Access firmware. I don't think FreeSky is ever going to ship the RXSR with Access because it devalues the Archer series, but that's just a guess. JR Bosch wants to know, do you have a video showing how to hook an FTDI adapter with to a flight controller with a broken USB? No, I don't. In order to do that, you would need to have already enabled MSP on one of the UARTs. And with DJI needing MSP on a UART, that's more common than it once was. But it's so you would solder the TX and the RX of the FTDI adapter to the RX and TX of the UART. You would need MSP to be enabled on that UART. And you would need to solder ground and 5 volts. And the FTDI adapter will usually have an output for ground and 5 volts. So you could solder those on as well. And then that will be how you do it. Quadfather asks, should I update my quad to Betaflight 4.3? Blunty says you'd lose a quad if you do. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far. Betaflight 4.3 has been extremely safe for an extremely long time. And then with RC4, I think, they reworked some of the GPS code. And then they broke it. And in RC4 and RC5, I'm not sure. If you activate GPS rescue, your quad will just fly away and never be seen again. Which seems like a pretty big bug for a release candidate, but okay. So there's always a risk with a release candidate that something will go wrong and you'll lose your quad. But generally, release candidates are extremely thoroughly tested and are relatively safe to use. Betaflight 4.3 has been struggling to reach a state where it's ready to release. Maybe DC, maybe it was RC5 that had the bug. Helios says, I know 2 people who burnt an ESC and flight controller because of the Betaflight 4.3. That's hard to say. Michael M., I don't know why your super chats aren't going through. I have no idea. It could be where you live. It could be your account. I don't know. Jory FPV says, I think Blunty's point was that if you fly a release candidate, you should be prepared to lose your quad. Yeah. That's valid. Generally, though, release candidates are relatively stable. Midwest RC, thank you for a $5 super chat. Is there a company you would recommend for getting glass inserts for my DJI goggles? Yes. The company that I would recommend is RHO Lens, and they make a product called the Tador, and they will make lenses for you. So that's where I would suggest. Geet Sahu, if you're using the TX port on the UART, the other thing you might need to do is type set serial RX half duplex equals on, and then type save in the CLI. Willpower of PV said they waited 2 months for RHO Lens to ship from Germany. That seems pretty extreme. Ended up buying some from VR Lens Lab. Do they have some for the DJI FPV? Oh, I haven't heard of this company. Oh, that looks good. I was not familiar with them. Thank you for pointing them out. Bannister Post asks, have you had any issues with BLHeli 32.9? Is it safe to upgrade? I would not say definitively that it's safe. When 32.9 first released, there were a few people who said that it fried their ESC fried. It's hard to know the truth behind that, whether it's 32.9 that caused it or something else. 32.9 is supposed to be safe and final, though, but I'm not sure. Oh man, 10 minutes to the end of the stream. 10 minutes to the end of the stream, folks. Jonah wants to know, what are the best stacks to be buying on a budget? What a perfect opportunity for me to mention my website, fpvknowitall.com, home of the ultimate FPV shopping list, where I give you parts suggestions at various price and performance points. So if you're looking for flight controllers and ESC on a budget, we'll just go here, and there are some suggestions for stuff at various prices and so forth. I don't think that's how that word is spelled. I don't think that's how that's spelled. Pardon me for a second. Okay, well, let's get that taken care of. Alrighty. Novarian asks, what will happen if a drone flies out of range? Is there any safety mechanism in place? Depends on the drone. A Betaflight freestyle drone most likely will just fall out of the air. Geet asks, where can I buy parts for FPV? In India, it's very tough to get parts. Yeah, that's, I don't know if anything has changed, Geet, but I think the Indian government is prohibiting the import of products from China, which means that it's very hard to buy drone parts. I don't have an answer for you. The other thing is that the Indian Postal Service, what can I say that is accurate but not insulting? Many stores won't ship to India because they feel that the percentage of lost packets is too high. And having personally tried to send a package to India, I can see why. The address was difficult to get right. So I could certainly see that. So yeah, Indian FPV pilots have a really hard time getting parts. Yeah. Like the address was like, such and such, India, province, city, street, building, block, second door on the left, down the road. It was like it was a really long and complicated address that seemed like it would be easy to mess up, I guess is one way to put it. So a lot of stores don't ship to India, and the Indian government prevents importing from China, so it's tough. I don't have an answer for you. What's a good way to get sand out of a motor, Dave T? Personally, I just spin the motor. And then if the motor will spin from the ESC, I just whoosh, 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 and then it's done. All right, Geet. Let it go. That's the line right there. Abraham says, if India's postal service is anything like the one I dealt with in Madagascar, packages from the U.S. are pretty much always riffled through several times before the remnants make it to their destination. I mean, I wasn't even going there. I just can imagine that getting the address right and getting it delivered to the person is complicated because of just how many people there are. Never mind the possibility that there's other stuff going on. Ryan Trent, thank you for a $2 super chat. Much support. FPV changed my life. I'm very glad to hear that. We are 4 minutes from the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to take a couple more questions. Then Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming on his channel. He's going to start posting the link. And if you want to head on over there after you're done here, he'll be streaming for a couple hours as well, doing a giveaway. It's also his birthday. So happy birthday to him. But we still got time for a couple more questions. No? Okay. I guess we're done. We're just going to talk good things about Ciati for the rest of the stream. That hair, baby. What micro SD cards? SanDisk. If it means anything. Class 10, UHS 3, whatever. Geet, I don't know what you're asking, man. You're saying your support email, please. That doesn't, I don't understand the question, man. My email address is joshuabardwell@gmail.com. You're welcome to email me if you have anything, any further questions. A Flying Sandal, thank you for a $10 super chat. My videos are the best. He says my videos are the best. Well, a Flying Sandal says it. I don't know how I could possibly disagree. BW4 Betaflight 4.3 has made no changes to the error/warning to support the DJI goggles. You would still need to flash custom firmware to do that. How far am I into Elden Ring? Asks Cool Cat. Is that what we're going to do? Let's see. 55 hours. Oh, you guys can't see. 55 hours into Elden Ring. I beat Renala, and I have beat Magritte, but I have not beat Radon. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Alrighty, folks, it is 9:59. We're gonna wrap up. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the news with me and It's Blunty, and throughout the week with all the great videos. Thank you, Mudkips, for a $2 super chat. That's gonna do it, folks. Happy flying, everybody. Have a great stream, Ciati.